bass. Welcome to another edition of Truth and Rhythm. This is the interview show that gets deep in the pocket with contemporary music's foremost masters of the groove. I am your host, Scott Dr. GX Goldfine. If you enjoy this programming, subscribe to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube, which is where Truth and Rhythm lives, and be an advocate by spreading the word among fellow funk, jazz, and R&B music lovers. Join Truth and Rhythm's membership program through Patreon. You can also submit a direct donation to the cause anytime at funkandstuff.net. At that site, you can also purchase the book Everything's on the One, The First Guide of Funk. Shop for official Truth and Rhythm and Funk and Stuff merchandise, and use the Amazon links for all of your online purchases, which allocates a percentage to this show. For those of you who go the extra step in supporting the show, you have my heartfelt gratitude for allowing us to continue to shine the light on those special artists whose quest is to find truth in rhythm.
It is my pleasure to welcome to the Truth and Rhythm show R&B singers, keyboardists, and composers Cavin Yarbrough and Elisa Peoples, famously known as the duo Yarbrough and Peoples. All four of their early 1980s albums reached the top 25 of the R&B chart, with the debut called The Two of Us hitting number one. Those records featured 7 top 20 R&B hit singles, including a pair of dance floor ready chart toppers in Don't Stop the Music and Don't Waste Your Time. Other big hits included Heartbeats, Guilty, and I Wouldn't Lie. In more recent years, the duo has appeared in theater productions and continues to delight audiences on the concert circuit. It's so great to have you both. How are you?
Thank you. Glad to be here, and we are fantastic.
Can we carry you for that introduction?
Oh my God, that was fantastic.
Well, thanks. I'm just trying to do you justice, you know.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Where are you guys today?
We're in Dallas, Texas at home, and this was one of our slump days. We were hanging out, so we're in Dallas, but
it happens to be one of those days when we don't have to run every moment of the day.
Relax.
We're able to actually sit down for a second and say, phew.
And it's a little rain happening, you know.
And that's a blessing. It's been very hot in Dallas, Texas. And now we're getting a break, and so nobody knows what to do with themselves. We're just jumping for joy.
It just so happens I was out there earlier this week for a trade show.
Really?
At the convention center by the Omni Hotel over there.
Yeah.
And I was glad because I know a few days before it was like 108 and crazy kind of weather. So
yes, it was. This was a exceptionally hot year here in Dallas. It was amazing. I didn't know if a lot of people were going to get through it, but we did. We made it through it.
But you know, Dallas being the melting pot that it has become, you know, where everybody in Dallas is not from Dallas, you know, they're not from here. So they go, that's hot. It's hot. But you find the real Texans.
People that have been here, they're not moved as much.
This thing.
It's another hot one.
But folks from not here, oh my God, it's hot today. It's hot. You guys haven't seen it.
Yeah, you guys are used to it, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, it's off topic, but I have to ask, are you guys Cowboys fans?
Are we what?
Dallas Cowboys fans?
Absolutely.
Because I'm a lifelong, I don't know if you can see back there, but I have some Cowboy stuff back over there.
Yeah.
For you.
All right, then. That means you're a Cowboy.
Even more so. We love you even more.
Yep. Lifelong. So I enjoyed that game the other night.
Once you're in, you're in. You know, coming out of it.
Yep, I go back to the Tom Landry, Roger Staubach days. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
I know
That's
that's
amazing.
whose jersey I wear when I wear
Yeah,
my
he
jersey.
has an original jersy from Starbucks.
And
Oh wow.
when I go places, that's where I wear it.
He wears it and brags on it.
Yeah, people always want to buy it.
He said, "No, you can't have this one. Not
There's
this."
there's an autographed Roger Staubach thing framed back there. So yeah.
Look at you. Look at
So-
you. That's fabulous.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. So cool. Well, so speaking of Dallas and coming from there and all that, can you tell the folks a little bit about how you came up in life and what drew you to music?
No, I need to go for that one. Okay. Growing up in a musical household, both of us were in musical households, separate. His dad was like a lead singer in the choir, and his mom sang as well and played the piano. My mom and dad played the piano and both sang, and I'm the youngest girl. So all my sisters and brothers played, so it was kind of inevitable for me to learn how to play music. And it was just an amazing thing growing up in a musical household. There was always joy, there was always laughter, even in the midst of things that we were going through, the lack of money sometimes, and whatever we were going through, we sang our way through it. So it became a staple of how we deal with life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you.
You
I
co-sign on that?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm sitting here listening, and I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, so did you have any formal musical training along the way, and who were some of your musical idols?
Formally training?
Yes, we both took me. That's how we met, was taking music together.
Yeah.
And so we started out taking music, and then you go through school and you're taking music classes and whatever. You go to college and you take your more music classes. That's about how, as far as we go. Both of us have doctorate degrees. And it's just a matter of studying and making sure that our craft came before a whole lot of other things, and staying
and pushing forward.
Pushing forward, no matter what, you keep pushing.
And who were a couple of your biggest influences early on musically?
Ooh, me first. My absolute idol is Gladys Knight. I've always loved Gladys Knight as a female singer. We didn't get to hear a lot. I didn't, in my family, we didn't get to hear a lot of R&B music or blues because my family was very church oriented, and you just didn't have that music prominent in your household. So when I would go to school, or when I was riding in my daddy's truck with him, he would play good old KKDA, and they were always going to put some Gladys Knight on or some Stevie Wonder. And so we had a chance, I had a chance to hear both of them, and they became very, very instrumental in my. Gladys is so full of soul until it's amazing, and she would pull things out of me. And so I love her.
Well, you sort of dipped in my bowl a little bit.
Oh, Lord.
Stevie Wonder, Mr. Magical, Mr. Majestical, Mr. Everything. Now you know how I feel. I mean, Stevie Wonder was mine. He was so amazing. So amazing.
And both of us were in love with Donny Hathaway as well.
Donny Hathaway as well. There have been some along the way, because I can't get Charlie Wilson. And
that's part of our story, is Charlie Wilson. But yes, both of us love Charlie Wilson. He's an amazing singer and entertainer. Amazing.
Yeah, and his longevity has been very impressive, the way he's come back, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, he's had like a rejuvenation and a whole second career after the Gap Band.
Yes, he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Man, what a blessing. But he was he helped us to get started. He was the one that introduced us to Lonnie Simmons and Lonnie told Cavin and myself, after he heard our demo, he was like, if you guys can make it to California, I'll make sure you get a deal. And so it was our responsibility to make sure that we got to California. Cavin's dad brought him a Volkswagen.
68.
My dad, ended up giving us money to help us go. And they scooted us on and said, hey, go look for it. Go get it.
Wow. How old were you guys at that time?
I was 19. I was 20. Cavin, he probably ain't gonna want to tell you because he was on up there.
I was 23. That ain't bad.
Yeah. So you did some work or played some shows with Leon Russell that the Wilson brothers were part of too, right?
Most definitely. That was the younger days of myself when Leon had the three girls backing him up. Well, one of the girls she had a problem with she'd miss some nights and do that. Well, they invited me in for a couple of shows where I had to sing with them, play with them, and that was my experience with Leon Russell and Charlie Wilson as well.
That's how he first met him.
Yeah, I met Leon through Charlie through Leon, and at the same time we all met. Sure.
What was Leon Russell like?
He has stories. Oh my God, he has so many stories.
He's a gentleman. He's like an older gentleman. That's what he's like. He's always thinking and being very, I don't know. People probably say the same thing about us, but
now
acting odd, like you might have the biggest story of the night. It would mean just nothing. Just to him, he would, okay, let's play this piano over here. Yeah, something
just
like
thinking. He thought very odd.
Somewhere else.
But Cavin has stories with he and Joe Cocker, which was I always kind of got a little jealous of the fact that he was able to hang out with both of them
that was
in his younger days. That was before Yarbrough and Peoples. That was before we even came together and put a band together. That was before all of that.
Worked a lot with them around the Jamaica Say Wheel album that put out. We stayed there at the thing, and we were supposed to be writing every day, but it didn't happen. Joe would be laying out in the middle of the floor before we got down halfway to rehearsal. So, but he was just odd like that.
I mean, just Leon Russell, I know him best from, of course, his hits, but also Mad Dogs and Englishmen movie with also Joe Cocker, of course.
Yeah.
But he seemed like a kind of eclectic, eccentric kind of character.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Wilson brothers, what could you tell the people about those guys?
Wow.
We love all three of them. Charlie, Ronnie, Robert. Ronnie was...
That was definitely three different personalities.
Yeah, Ronnie was sort of the serious.
More serious, yeah. He was the older brother,
he was
kind
the older
of.
Brother.
Making sure that his younger brothers were good as far as, what was going on in the studios and what was going on.
Preaching about the business.
Yeah.
And then Robert.
He was the youngest, and he was like a little sprite,
Look for something to happen with Robert.
Robert kept everything exciting for sure. He made it to where everybody had something to laugh about every day. That was Robert Singh. Charlie was elusive. He liked being an enigma, to where people would look at him and say, "Now I just wonder, about him." To me, that was what his big thing was.
He just that with other people. 'Cause I didn't have it. It was like he and I were. Hey, Cavin.
Well, us, I'm talking about other people.
I'm just you know what I'm saying. That we never had that kind of thing. He was always Charlie boy. Charlie,
Charlie Ray.
Charlie, he was always a good guy. So
we had pet names. We would call each other pet names and stuff. We spent a lot of time in the studio together. And then a lot of times Lonnie had us living near one another. So all of his artists were right there. When needed. Lonnie Simmons did. And so we ended up spending a lot of time with Robert and Charlie, Robert and Charlie. Ronnie he was older. He always had his own house. He always had his own everything. But Charlie and Robert were more around us more.
So when the Wilson brothers made that transition, though, from Leon Russell to, their own band, and they hit it like they did before you guys did, were you surprised at all? Or, how'd you feel about that when they started hitting the big time before you guys did?
We performed Gap Band stuff in our shows before they did from their old albums, Count on Me and songs like that Charlie used to sing. We used to perform them.
We were big fans.
We were
already
big fans.
Yeah.
When they got with Lonnie, the Total Experience, that was big.
And at that point, we were just putting together, getting together our band and starting to perform in clubs here in Dallas and starting to get, known for singing here.
Yeah. And it didn't happen overnight. It was some voice coaching and a bunch of other little stuff that had to be corrected inside of the guy who was handling it, inside his head before he could even move on further with it. But we knew as the songs were coming out, because half of the band was our band. And
at the Total Experience, you shared everything.
Yeah.
And we did backgrounds. We did the backgrounds for Charlie Wilson and them for the Gap Band. The Gap Band did background for us. We wrote and did stuff with Penny Ford. Basically all the artists supported each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the credits for your first record, there's a lot of familiar names on there, like Sugarfoot Moffett and Raymond Calhoun and
Jim
Gilstrap, who's been on the show. Calhoun's been on the show too. A lot of these cats, Da Costa on percussion.
Oh my God, Polina.
Yeah.
And we did backgrounds for it, like it was back and forth. They did songs with us, and we would turn around and do like background. That's us on Outstanding and those songs like that as well. And
Humping.
There's a story also about that Cavin's car. Yeah,
Burn Rubber. That's at the beginning of that. That's my.
Volkswagen. That's that same Volkswagen that we
rode to
California in.
Wow, burning rubber in a Volkswagen. Awesome.
Once I got to California, I kind of
had a Porsche engine.
Got kind of suited up.
Yeah. So it gave that sound and it did that burn rubber sound really, really good. So Lonnie used it on that song.
Wow.
Cavin also did the You Dropped the Bomb on Me, the whistles and all those things
the trains,
that you hear,
the whistles,
the trains
like
on Party Train. That's Cavin.
That's something.
Yeah.
What did you guys envision for yourselves when you first came out as your own act and you were recording that first album? Was there somebody that you sort of emulated, or you thought we kind of want to be like them, or?
We've always been different, similar but different, and so we kind of stuck with the little. There was something about when Cavin and Lewis sang. It was different. It was magical. It was different, anointed. I'll just go ahead and say. And no matter what we were singing, and the audience that we had, we'd always hold them, keep them in our hands.
One of the groups though that Lonnie kind of kept us in front of when we first got up there, he would take us to see different acts. And say, hey, look at how they're doing things and blah blah blah, sort of improve our shows and give us some insight. And one of those that we kind of took up with and they kind of took up with us was Ashford and Simpson. And so even now, Valerie
and Norman and Connors, Hustlin and
yeah, Connors, yeah. So yeah, there were a couple that actually, took a little time with us,
But they really didn't change where we were headed, and so it. You got back to your question you asked. It's somebody we sort of patterned ourselves after. And they would have been so far in the past of it, like Donnie
and Roberta Flack, Donnie Hathaway, Roberta Flack,
Marvin and Tammy.
Yeah.
That would have been.
Those are people that we heard and said, and we would sing their songs, and it would feel good when we would sing their songs,
Mm-hmm. So when you were in the studio and laying these tracks down, how'd you feel about "Don't Stop the Music" at that point? Did you feel it in the studio? What was that like?
I'm going to tell you something that I haven't told very many people, but I'm soon to in the book. I hated it.
He thought Cavin was like, everybody's going to think that's the only way I can sing.
I hated it, and as it worked on it, Lord knows he worked on it for a year and a half.
Listen, it was brought to us as a song called "When the Music Stops," and it was like a ballad. When the music stops, let me take you home and turn it on again. And that was what Jonah Ellis brought to us. Lonnie Simmons told me and Cavin to go in a room. Y'all write some more lyrics for this because the music should not have to stop.
We're gonna speed this up a little bit.
We're gonna speed it up a little bit, and I'm gonna bring in some more musicians, and let's make this thing into a dance song.
No problem. The words just rolled out.
We wrote the words together,
and they rolled out, and it was as it is today, or what it is today, and
then he brought in Paulina DaCosta. He brought in what's that boy? Louis Cabaza. Oh my God. He brought in Louis Cabaza, and we got that bouncy bass line and that clavinet sound.
You can hear Louis Cabaza on Gap and
YNP, because once he got in there, Lonnie was like, "This is a part of our sound now." And once he got those, I think all that energy together, and then as far as the vocals are concerned, you had me and Cavin and Charlie Wilson and the Waters sisters, Maxine and Julia, and
they had all kind of vocals. They had Gus,
Oliver Scott. That's the guy that wrote "Yearning" for the Gap Band.
Joe.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't.
Jim Gilstrap was on there too.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So you had all these amazing energies together. And I think that that's what made the song what it was, all of this awesome energy that was bottled up in one song.
A lot of the magic came from the different people that came together.
Yes.
You know, and
Melvin Bigfoot Webb.
He'd come to play chord with us sometime. All he wanted was a cheeseburger.
Yeah, just make sure I got my cheeseburger. So it was a lot of fun. We didn't know we were broke. We were having too much fun, and things were getting paid for, and we had somewhere to live, and we had food, and we
always.
didn't know we were
stayed out on the road so much that we didn't have any bread.
No, well, because we were gone.
Because we were gone, and we would have to stay in a hotel. But that period, when I think of that period, I think of how folks used to ask me, "How did you feel when they told you it was number one?"
We didn't know what to feel. We didn't know what to feel.
I never had a number one before.
Yeah, we didn't know what to feel.
Well, how'd you feel? Breaking it down more simply, how'd you feel when you first heard yourselves on the radio?
Ooh,
we
acted a pure fool.
Yeah,
because if you remember, we were walking. You actually walked out of the Total Experience, and somebody was driving by, and it was on their radio.
Yeah.
And he just stopped and he said, "Wait a minute, that's our song." And we were just outside the Total Experience recording facility. And we rejoiced all over.
He's a low rider, so he blasted
it. It was so cool.
Yeah. So you went out and toured on the first record, right? Who were some of the folks that you were built up with?
Kool and the Gang.
Steve
Arrington. Of course, it started out being with other people headlining, and us opening, and the Gap Band being in like the
it was Kool and the Gang
guest position.
Gap Band.
Yeah. So, and then we added the girls in, the Sister Sledge.
Yeah.
And then Carl Carlton. And then the funk guys from Now Come Function and all of those guys. Oh,
you're talking about
Zap. Evelyn Champagne King. All these people were being added in, and then eventually, as the Gap Band and Yarbrough and People started getting more and more popular, the Total Experience started its own tour, which was the Gap Band, Yarbrough and Peoples, and Goody.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed out for a long time.
Yeah,
like about 99 days.
Wow. Now, the album was called The Two of Us, and I was just curious because it was the same year that Grover Washington and Bill Withers hit it with Just the Two of Us.
Right.
We had ours first.
We wrote that song, The Two of Us, in Dallas, Texas, in his sister's living room. And I think I was probably about maybe 17, and Cavin was about 20, 25, something like that.
You keep getting older every time we talk about it.
Every time, man.
But we wrote it back then, and it was such an amazing thing. That and the song Crazy and Come to Me were all three songs that we wrote in Dallas before we even knew we were going to have a record deal. As a matter of fact, they were on our demo. And then to be able to come to California and actually record them and it was an amazing thing for us.
Yeah.
Never in a million years did we think we would be able to put those songs on an album.
No, an album would ever happen. We were trying for it.
Well, you must have been spending a lot of time doing shows and all that because the next record didn't come out till 83. It took a little bit of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and we did a lot
Don't
of television
Stop, after
shows
Don't
too.
Stop the Music lasted a year and a half,
Yeah.
you know. Then we could sort of see where it was going because it was a big record for the company. They didn't know what to do.
I was
They
getting ready to
expanded.
say Lonnie and them didn't know what to do
They
after
didn't know what
that.
to do.
They were
They
like,
didn't know
oh
what to do
God,
with
what do we
us.
do now? They did not expect it to be as big as it was. It surprised them. And so after that, it was like he was scrambling for what are we going to do next? How are we going to get it next? What are we going to do next?
And then Merv Griffin.
It was kind of ironic. Don't stop the music, but you guys did kind of stop the music for a little bit till you came back with the next record.
We went back to When the Music Stops, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So then when you finally went in and did that second record, Heartbeats, what was that experience like compared to the first time?
Well, it was a little different because now we're realizing something is supposed to be happening now. We're supposed to be getting paid something, aren't we? So the atmosphere was not quite the same in those latter in the subsequent recordings, because we were growing older, we were growing up more, and we were understanding that something was not right.
And it was the video age. If you didn't have a video out, you weren't doing the Heartbeats. And I think our video concept was a little different.
Yeah.
On that record, I noticed looking at the people involved, again from the Gap Band, you had Don Silva, Val Young doing some backing vocals on there. How'd you feel, Victor Orlando on percussion? How'd you feel about, the tracks and how it turned out, that project?
Victor Orlando was a classmate of mine.
We've known him since we were young as well. Don Silva and Val, it was a great thing to be able to use them because they already knew the business. They already knew how to perform. And they would come in and just say, yeah, and they'd have it just like that. So that was a joy. And I was the only female on the label at the time. So it was really a joy for me to just have two other women around me and not so many hard heads, And
at a time we needed Victor. He was hot.
Oh, yeah, Victor Orlando.
Yeah,
he would throw that hair.
He was hot.
While he was playing those percussions, and those girls would go crazy.
So we wanted the stage to be moving and stuff. So he did a little time.
Yeah, he did. That was fantastic. The tracks that we did, Lonnie allowed us to use a little bit more of the songs that we wrote, like Feel So Good and all of those.
It felt better.
And for us, it felt better, but he didn't put, because it was more our production, he didn't put as much money behind those records. Again, the atmosphere was changing.
Yeah, Feel So Good was a really good follow-up to Don't Stop. I mean, it was kind of in a similar vein,
Yes, we loved it.
Maybe even a little funkier than Don't Stop,
We may be redoing that again. We had someone call us about it and talk to us about releasing it in Europe.
Yeah.
And
so you may get to hear that.
So you may get to hear that. Feels So Good.
Remixed, a recut.
Redone.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And then the title track, that got top 10. That was a real driving, kind of dance track.
Absolutely. Absolute heartbeats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Every time I see your face, that was such
course, I'm gonna tell you, my producer was stuck on Police. Everything that they do, he do. So that was his version of like a Police thing from an R&B side, I guess. That's what I always saw it, you know, because that was his concept of, you know, every time I see your face, I get hardly happy. No, that's him.
That was his moment.
That was his moment.
Just like the Gap Band's Early in the Morning where he's going, okay. He just had one or two lines on the songs and that was good for him.
And it was his money spent for the instrument. What was the instrument that anyway, and the player that played it was the
Sinclavier.
Sinclavier. All those weird sounds on the
that was Lonnie was really he was really big on those weird sounds at that point.
Hey, you both played keyboards, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So how would you decide who did what, or is one of you more adept in a certain keyboard than the other?
That's some kind of a musical thing with us. We are leaders, but we're just as big as soldiers as we are leaders with that. So if you came up with a solo and it was grooving, you came up with a part, then you had the right to take the lead of it.
I'm more of a melody player too, and Cavin is more of a funk player, more of a
chord around it.
You know? Yeah, and he also knows how to do a lot of different instrumentation, sounds, horns, and all that kind of stuff. I'm more of I like to play. I love the baby grand piano, you know. I love to just sit down and play. I play a B3 organ as well, but I love the piano sound. Cavin puts everything around. It's like if we're doing a ballad and I lay the foundation of the pads, Cavin is going to come back and put all that other stuff around it that makes it into a song. So we work perfectly together, especially when we're creating.
Yeah, it's such a team effort with you guys, you know, with the vocals, the keys, the writing.
We fight though. we have an argument. I don't do the vocal like this. No, I want you to sing it in this key. Sing it up higher and this. Oh, all right, I'll try it. But we come to
that's creative differences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know we're gonna eventually come to it. We just gotta go through and each one try their power.
Yeah, and you end up coming. The funny thing is, you end up finding out that you're saying the same stuff. You're just saying it differently.
Well, the next record, Be a Winner, you came back within a year for that one. So you weren't going to mess around, I guess, this time, right?
My brother Troy brought us Be a Winner. And he was like, kept saying, I got this song, I got this song, I got this song. And he, of course, he's the youngest in the family, but he has this thing about playing these bass riffs. And he came up with that bass riff, and then me and Cavin got in there with him, and we made a song.
It was a good time for it, but without the promotion, you wouldn't know because it was the Olympics were in California.
Again, Lonnie didn't produce it, so Lonnie wasn't gonna put a whole lot of money behind it. The Olympics were in
California at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. That's when your Purple Rain came out. I was living there in LA, and they had that. That thing during the Olympics in Westwood. But yeah, I remember all that. Yeah.
Yes.
So this none of that was promoted to where it
could have really. I think that could have been a really big record had he promoted it like he should have.
Well, it fell right in line with that, line of "Don't Stop" and "Heartbeats," and then that one. I mean, it was the trilogy right there, kind of.
we had a lot of songs that I guess were left in the editing room that we had done, which would totally made some of the later albums that we had more Yarbrough and people's feel friendly rather than the visiting writer, so our producer, John Ellis, and all the influences that John used to play with guitar with the Temptations. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. He had a thought this way. Well, said my complaint was let's go this way, not just this way. And I was a troublemaker. That's what they're gonna say about me. Cavin needs trouble. He wants to start. He wants to do. See, I mean, I was into hip hop long before hip hop came out, and it was just something I liked, about the beat, the different things, the kooky sounds that they used to make with it, and me being a guy with noise and effects and stuff. I liked it, and the kids used to run, man, that's a beat right there. No, let me have that beat. I started thinking, that's where it's going. That's where it's going. So for a while, I got into doing a lot of beats, hip hop stuff, even soundtracks. Not very proud of.
Well, this album we were just talking about, Be a Winner, was 1984. That's the same year, I think, that Herbie Hancock did Rocket.
Yes.
Were you a fan of Herbie's?
Yes.
Like I am a huge fan.
At the time we lived next door to George Duke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's when George Duke, Chick Corea, and Herbie Hancock. That's when they were. That was one of their heydays. So they came through that. But most definitely, Herbie was my man. And what's his name? Played with the Jazz Crusaders.
Joe Sample.
Joe Sample. So,
yeah.
We just talked.
Yeah, we're just talking about hip hop and other cool things. So just to wrap up on the Winner album, though, yeah, Be a Winner got to 20. Should have done better, probably. What can you say about Lonnie Simmons in terms of, I understand there's maybe some mixed feelings, but how would you characterize him as a music person, aside from the business? Did he really bring much to the music itself, or was he all about the business?
Lonnie was an amazing producer.
An amazing producer.
He really was. He had just feelings. He just had feelings about things. Just put that little thing in there. It's going to make people, if you put that little thing in there, it's going to make them, every time they hear this song, they're going to be looking for that one little thing. And it'll be something you wouldn't have never.
He was that kind of guy.
But musically. But Lonnie, in my humble opinion, he never focused enough on what was fair for the artist, especially monetarily. He never focused on the fairness of what should have been done for not just us, but any of his artists. And that was, for me, I mean, I love him because he gave us our first chance.
That was a deal breaker.
I love him because he believed in us. I love him for all of those things. But he also hurt us because he held us for so long and wouldn't let us go and would not pay us. So I think that overall that hurt us in the industry.
Made bad decisions.
Yeah.
With some things. Well, endless love type.
Mhm.
Was he also your manager too?
He had Don Alexander as our manager, but Don was also with
with his company?
With his company.
We found out.
So it was either way it goes. Lonnie was giving the orders. He was he was running the show on all aspects of it, on every phase of what was going on. Lonnie was running the show.
Well, despite that all, I mean, and that song only going to 20, the album went to 6, which was your second most successful album chart-wise.
Yes.
So, you know, and then even the final one, Guilty, 2 years later, got to 13, pretty darn good. And you had a number 2 hit, you know, the title track.
Yes. And this was without
got him really pushing it.
Got him pushing it.
Yeah.
This was minimum dollars.
This was the people really loving us. And I thank the Lord for that they loved us that much.
There's much more to this great Truth and Rhythm interview. Just continue on to the next part of the episode. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. And become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon, or consider donating at funkinstuff.net. Thank you very much.